Welcome to the Secret Improv Podcast, where we share backstage secrets from the world of improv. I'm Kristian Ruggieri.
And I'm Goose Duarte. We are members of the Secret Improv Society, a show that has been running for 18 years downtown San Francisco.
Every week, we explore a new random topic about the craft of improvisation. No script,
No limits,
no secrets.
This is the Secret Improv Podcast.
What scares you about improv? Are we recording? Check.
We are recording.
Great. What scares you about improv? You can dive into common fears like freezing on stage, not being funny, dealing with difficult scene partners, or even the fear of failure. It could be a great mix of personal stories and practical advice. Goose, you strike me as a person that nothing scares you about improv.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. But someone asked me once if I get nervous before a show. And I hadn't thought about that. And they made me think about it. And I realized the reason I'm not nervous about a show is because I don't think about it. Because if I did, it would terrify me. It would. For a long time, I remember going to courses and classes, like even improv class, right?
Yeah.
The very first thing, you're standing in a group and they say, almost first thing, we're going to go in a circle. You're going to say your name and a word or two about yourself, right? Probably the most unscary, inoffensive thing in the world that they could possibly ask you. Your name and say something about you. And as people were going around saying their name, I was thinking, oh my God, okay, should I say Goose or Gustavo? Okay, I'm going to say Goose. It's fine. I mean, they should know me as Goose. But what do I say about me? I can't just tell everybody that I'm a stoner. And this whole time, my hands are sweating. My heart is beating. I'm feeling cold. There's zero to be scared of.
And you're not listening to anybody else.
And I'm not listening to...
You have no idea who anybody is.
And I have no idea who anybody is or what they're saying.
Yeah.
All I'm seeing is this thing coming at me. My turn just getting closer and closer and closer. And I'm terrified. I have massive social anxiety.
Yeah.
Right. Just the idea of telling somebody a thing about myself is already terrifying.
Yeah.
But I learned that if I don't think about it, instead of thinking of what I'm going to say, I just listen and I postpone that moment of what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do? Then I don't get that because I don't think about it.
Yeah.
So in improv, I have to, it's my own form of protection is to just not think about it.
Yeah.
Because if I did, I'd be terrified.
Yeah.
But I do, it happens in small doses, like in songs.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we're going to sing, I'm trying to think of a rhyme. But I've also learned that if my turn comes and I don't have a rhyme and I don't know what I'm supposed to say and I don't have an idea of what I'm going to sing, I just open my mouth and start.
Mm-hmm.
And something's going to happen and it might be good and it might be terrible and then it'll be over and then we'll do the next scene. So I don't worry about it. So in that sense, no. In that sense, those things don't scare me.
Yeah.
How about you?
I used to get nervous before shows when I first started, for sure. And now I only get nervous if I have people I know in the audience. Because if I have people I know in the audience, then I'm very invested and I want the show to be, I'm using air quotes, I want it to be good.
Right.
And I know and you know what, we've been in shows and we've known that was a really great show. We were really connected as a team and the audience was hot and that was great. And we've also been in shows where we're not connected as a team and the audience is maybe not as engaged. And so I feel like I have a judgment on what's a good show and what's not a good show.
Sure.
And so when I have people in the audience, I want it to be a good show. So then I 100% get more in my head about I want it to be good, which is horrible because that, in a way, like the more in my head I am, the less I'm able to be present with the people on the stage, and the more likely I'm going to not do a good show because I'm not fully there.
Does that reach the level of fear, though? Because the question here is, are you scared?
No, I'm not scared. You know what? I'm not scared. I am more invested in the results of the show, and so I get a little bit nervous about how I want it to be, but I'm not scared.
Right.
I used to be horrified of singing in public. Like I've always liked to sing and would make up songs, as a kid and with my friends, or, when Weird Al came around. I know you're a big Weird Al fan, but I would like to make up, my own Weird Al versions of songs.
Sure. Yeah, me too.
But the idea of, Weird Al parking lot, and then we'll come back to that. Yeah. The idea of like, oh shit, music is starting and you have to sing and you have to make it up and people are watching you, and you have to try to be, whether or not you're rhyming it, like the song should make some sense, and you should ideally be in the same key as the person playing music for you, and you need to be loud enough and all of that. Like I used to be frightened of singing for sure. But I think the more just doing it and doing it and doing it and realizing sometimes it works out great and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes you start singing and you think, I'm singing. Oh, hang on. That's, I've started to let go of that. Unless, again, like if there's people in the audience that I know but don't know well, like coworkers and stuff, people that are my friends, I don't have an issue with singing in front of them because I feel like probably I've sang in front of you in life, or we've gone to karaoke or something. But like coworkers, I think, oh, yeah, come see me. And then something about singing in front of them, I feel like, like you are really seeing more of me than maybe I wanted you to see, but now you're seeing it.
Right. Yeah, I do have that concern when people that I know are in the audience, and I think it's because if the audience doesn't know me, if there's no one in the audience who knows me, who cares?
Right.
They're gonna go home and they're gonna tell their friends in Minnesota that they were in San Francisco and they saw this person on stage and they said something dumb once. Yeah. And they're not gonna remember that. They don't care. And if they say it, nobody's gonna remember and go, oh wait, what was this person's? Nobody cares. Yeah. But my coworkers, right, around the water cooler on Monday, oh, last week Goose said this and that on stage.
Right.
Then, so I definitely understand that concern. That makes sense to me. And I'm noticing that when we're talking about fears, we are veering towards consequences.
Yeah.
Right? Like the less that we feel something's consequential, the less that we're afraid, right? When we first started, we felt like there were more consequences to our improv. I also, as you were talking, I started to flash back. I was like, okay, there were a lot of times when I was playing, especially playing Maestro and Bats, that I really wanted them to recognize my talent. That I was so invested. I'm like, my God, I am funny. I know that I'm better than most of these people, not all of them. I'm also arrogant, but but I know I'm funny, and I wanted that to be recognized. I was like really invested in that, and that just kept getting in my way. And the one time that I won Maestro, it was one of those rare situations when I was playing 2 weeks in a row at Bats. and I had just like been eliminated the previous week, like really early, and I had already made up my mind that I wasn't going to continue playing much longer. So it was one of my last shows, if not my very last one. And I remember coming into the show with the attitude of, I'm just gonna make the other person look good. I have I just dropped any intention or investment on actually looking good myself.
Yeah.
And I focused the entire time in making everybody else look good.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that was the one time that I won.
Yeah.
And that was a big lesson for me, right? That how much of that self-investment in trying to make sure that the thing is good is actually what prevents it from being good, which is counterintuitive, especially like I think in other situations, if you were doing art, if you were creating, if you're doing some kind of craft where you like have to pay attention and make sure that like the minutia is correct. If you're computer programming, like you can't just put a comma in the wrong place. Everything has to be just the right place for it to work. This is exactly the opposite, which is really interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about consequences, and I think it is when I don't know anybody in the audience, like I still want to put on a good show and I want to have people be entertained. But if I do something that I feel like was a failure or mistake or made me not look good, it's easier to not care because I think, I don't know these people. Right. Like you're saying, go home to Minnesota and say, like, you don't know, you're not going to remember my name. You don't know. You don't know. So what if I messed up? Whereas if it's people that I have to see in the office on Monday, back when that was a thing, like I don't want to go back and have them have been to a show where I was in a scene that didn't work for whatever reason.
Right.
So there is, I think, going back to the prompt of the fear of failure, I think I do have some fear of failure, but I think maybe it's failing to meet people's expectations. And yet, if they're people who are coworkers of mine who haven't seen me in this environment, they don't probably, if I would stop and think, I'm probably, like this sounds super arrogant, but I'm probably blowing their minds and exceeding their expectations because
we're doing something that they would never even dare to try.
Right. So I'm in my head about, I don't want you to see me mess up in a thing, where they're sitting there thinking, what the fuck? Like, I can't believe this is my coworker and here he is on stage. They're making stuff up. They're singing songs. They're what? So it's interesting how, at least for me, how self-critical I can be if I'm like I'm putting my judgment as an improviser who's been in hundreds, if not thousands of shows and seen thousands of shows. Right. Like I'm putting my critical eye, I'm assigning that to people who maybe this is the first improv show they've ever been to in their life.
Right.
And they're going to be watching with a different lens.
Yes. Yes, they're going to be asking you whether or not it was scripted.
Yeah.
It's fascinating because it is, you're describing projection, right? Like we're just bouncing back that image upon ourselves. And it's interesting, as we're talking about it, that how much more significant that feels when that person is going to continue in our lives, right? Versus perfect strangers.
Yes.
Although there's a lot of people who project upon perfect strangers, which is probably why public speaking is so scary.
Yeah.
This all reminds me to like this really dumb tiny anecdote. For when I was a kid, I saw somebody waving from the bus, and I remember waving back, and then realizing that they were waving to somebody else behind me.
Yeah.
And feeling dumb that I waved back. But then I thought about it and I realized, well, if someone's waving at me, or I think they're waving at me, and I wave back, and I don't know them, then who cares?
Yeah.
And if it turns out that I know them, then it looks good. It's a win-win situation. Like I have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So I might as well just wave back to everybody, right?
Yeah.
And that's been my attitude since. And maybe improvisers, maybe those of us who have embraced the art form have that in common. Maybe we limit our projections of our self-judgment to the people that we care about, or we have somehow learned to control it. I don't know. Maybe it's the chicken or the egg. Maybe it's the person's already like that and we like improv.
Yeah.
Or maybe improv instills that upon us. What do you think?
Oh. I mean, for me, I think it's learned through improv. Because I would say in the beginning, I cared more about what the audience as a whole thought.
Right.
Even if I didn't know anybody in the audience, I was more like I wanted to perform in front of people for sure. Yeah. And I was also more concerned about, is it good? Did they like it? Did I look stupid? Was I funny?
Right.
Did they get it? And now, after doing it for so long, like, if you don't get it, that's too bad for you. Is more my attitude. Like, and like I said, I want people who come to the show to have a good time.
Yes.
But I've done enough shows that I'm confident that they will have a good time. So I'm less worried about them having a good time. Again, unless it's somebody that I know, that I really, really want them to have a good time. So so I don't know whether, in your analogy, I don't know whether that was the chicken or the egg, but I think for me...
No, I think you're describing, and I think you make a really good point.
Yeah, I became more free and more comfortable and cared less specifically about, the audience reaction the longer I did it, because I started to get more confident that I knew that they were going to have a good time.
Right.
And if I did something dumb, oh well, like you said earlier, if I sing, if it's good, if it's bad, I'm going to do it and it's going to be over.
Yes. Yeah.
So I started to also kind of feel like, well, that one didn't work. Guess what? We got more.
We got another one. We'll do something else.
We're only halfway through.
Yeah.
So chicken, egg, you? Sorry, I was
not
letting you answer.
No, I think you're 100% right that it is definitely still, if not by the skills that we develop within like learning improv games, absolutely by the experience of performing in front of an audience on a regular basis.
Yeah.
That there's something about that, just knowing that like it's fine. Like there were no consequences.
Yeah.
Like it's not like I got a call the next morning, being told. I don't know, no, whatever. That's, I've never been kicked out of a show.
Yeah.
We've had bad reviews, and I'd say if we go to Yelp and look at our bad reviews, they're all from decades ago.
Yeah.
Like they're from like a long time ago, years and years ago. We haven't had bad reviews in the last several years. And I think that's because we have that experience that we've learned to, maybe try less. Is that, would you say that's right? Try less is that?
I think so, yeah.
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 That's interesting. Anything else about improv? Because the question that ChatGPT gave us also includes performing with other players.
I don't... Fear seems like such a strong and dramatic emotion. Like I will say, when performing with people that we haven't been performing with for decades, it can be exciting because you don't know like what these people might have to offer, because even though we do different things, there are sometimes characters that that we will pull out, those of us who have been together, that I think I recognize that character. Like, I like that character, and I recognize that character. So I'm less surprised. So playing with newer people can be surprising in an exciting way, and it can be surprising in a challenging way if it's people who are just newer to improv, and I feel like you have to manage maybe their nerves or their whatever's going on for them as they're learning, and maybe they're not as free and open as yes and support your partner.
Right.
Because they're still getting started. So that can be challenging, but I'm not afraid of it.
Right.
You?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that I'm afraid of bad partners.
Yeah.
I can be frustrated by them.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I'm afraid of that.
Right.
But I do think that I would be intimidated to play with certain people. There are some people for whom I have like utmost respect and admiration.
Yeah.
And if you put me on the stage with them, that self-reflection thing that we were talking about would be highly intensified.
Yeah.
Right? If you put me on the stage with like Stephen Kieran, I'd probably freeze.
Yeah.
It would be the best experience of my life, and it would be one of the most terrifying, like in terms of improvising. But it goes back to the exact same thing, right? It's like a question of comfort, because the reason I'm not concerned about playing with quote unquote difficult partners or inexperienced partners or new partners is because I know, again, the song's bad and I move on and there's another scene and fine, whatever, we'll make it happen, right?
Yeah.
And I shift my focus to how do I make them look good? Let's just descend them. Let's make them look and feel good, and then the scene will be fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
So in a sense, it's the same thing, right? It's back to that attachment to things being a certain way. I once had this long a story for another podcast experience in the desert with hallucinogenics.
Okay.
And I remember having this intense realization, this epiphany, this life transforming epiphany, that the only difference between heaven and hell is resistance. That when you take for example excitement, right? You put somebody in a roller coaster. If they don't want to be in the roller coaster, if they're trying to not be in the roller coaster, they're gonna white knuckle grab the bar and they're gonna scream and they're gonna be horrified the whole time because they don't want to be in the roller coaster.
Right.
And right next to them could be somebody who goes, hey, it's a roller coaster. They've ran this a million times. It's gonna be completely safe. I don't care. I'm just gonna enjoy the ride. And they're like the time of their lives. They're throwing their hands up in the air like, yeah. One of them is resisting. One of them is not. And they're having the exact same experience. And one of them is in hell, and the other one's in heaven. To me, it was a massive realization. Resistance is what changes your experience from pleasurable to negative. And I think that's what we're talking about here in terms of improv. When we want to have it be a certain way, when we're resisting what's happening. When we let go and go, you know what, whatever happens, whatever it's going to be, then we enjoy it. And then it's more fun. And then we have more fun, and then the audience has more fun. So what I'm saying is, if you want to be a good improviser, take a lot of drugs and go to the desert.
Oh, okay. Improv. It's not scary. Don't be a pussy. We're going to edit that out.
improv is not scary. You know, a lot of people are terrified. I mean, they say that one of the number one fears is public speaking.
Right.
And in a sense, if you have a speech, it should even technically be easier than improvising something in front of an audience, right? So I think that this attachment to portraying yourself in a certain light, to paint an image that is the way that you want it to, and to have it accepted by people outside us, is such a driving force,
right,
that it can really limit the things that people are willing to try doing.
Right.
And in a sense, improvising has given me a path to break through and past all of those resistance, that attachment, and just saying, hey, whatever it is, and I don't care what I look like, fine, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
That I think that's probably the single biggest gift that I have gotten from improvisation.
Being good, you said a lot of things. So what is your biggest single gift?
The ability to let go of my attachment to looking good, to doing it right.
Yeah.
Right. To painting a certain image of myself in other people's eyes.
Yeah.
That's the release valve.
Yeah.
To the fears that this ChatGPT has wanted us to find.
Yeah. That's good. I don't know if I have fully let go of all those attachments. To wanting to do it right and wanting to look good.
No. I don't think that is something that, I don't think it's binary.
Yeah.
I don't think that you just like one day don't have them.
Like,
right?
Oh, great.
No.
Yeah.
No. I think it's the ability to, in the moment to moment.
Yeah.
Being willing to.
Yeah.
Right. It's really evident when we're standing around in a circle and we're playing, for example, peanut butter. Right. I say peanut, you say butter, we say peanut butter, right? And then you to the next person, you say magic, and they go, That moment to me is them trying to do it right.
Yeah.
Because there's no wrong word.
Right.
And yet they're looking for the right one. And that moment is evident to me. And I'm constantly working on that moment myself. Every time we play one of those games, I'm pushing myself to go, don't be funny, don't be right. Just say the next word. And 90% of the time it works.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it doesn't work and the moment goes away. And but I'm constantly working on not trying to judge myself. Yeah. That inner critic, that inner judge.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I was first learning improv, the elimination of the inner critic, that inner voice that tells you, oh, don't do it this way, or that's not funny, that's not the right thing, that's not whatever. That bypassing, not eliminating, because it'll never go away. But learning to short circuit, to bypass it, to overcome that. That's the exercise. Yeah. That I think is the constant gift that I was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. So much of early improv is just helping people get out of their own way. Yeah. And be okay with whatever is.
I heard somebody say that if you take a group of children and you put them in a room, they immediately start playing. They're like improvising in seconds. They make up a game. Yep. But if you put up a group of adults, they all get in their own way, right? Like improv, we actually have to unlearn all of those social barriers and masks and pretends that we put on ourselves, so that we go back to what is actually our natural state. Yeah. Of just playing. Whatever is fun. Who cares? Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
That's it this week on the Secret Improv Podcast.
If you like what you heard, subscribe and share this with your friends and lovers.
We'll be back next week with another random topic and more unscripted wisdom.
I think we have enough.
Yeah.
We have enough.
Yeah.
We have enough.
Yeah.